Hello, everyone. Okay, so we have the Capricorn solar eclipse full moon coming up this Sunday, July 5th, and I felt like it would be really important to talk about astrology for this one because there's a lot of energy going on, and so it's going to be kind of difficult if you are just now learning about your chart to figure out where it's going to be affecting you. Um, so this is how I like to look at it. The chart looks like 12 slices of pie. Um, and I like to think of it as 12 different countries that originally are ruled by the different planets. So think of the planets kind of like as kings and queens, and think of the zodiac sign as being from that country. I will give an example. The 10th house is ruled by Capricorn, which is where this solar eclipse is taking place in the sky, is in the constellation of Capricorn. And the 10th house, it is of your careers, of your legacy, of how you interact with the world and how the world sees you. And it is ruled by the planet Saturn, right? So you cannot have Capricorn without Saturn, without the 10th house. But this is where people get a little tripped up. So I'm going to try to break it down as simply as I can. When you look at your chart with your birthday and your time, the sky obviously looks different when you were born than when I was born than when Joe down the street was born, right? So you're going to look in your chart at where Capricorn is, and then you're also going to look where Saturn is, and you're also going to look at what your 10th house is ruled by and if there are any planets in it. And then you are going to look at what is connected to all of that. So I'm going to give you an example because I feel like that's the easiest way to explain it. My second house is ruled by Capricorn. So if I was listening to an astrologer tell me to look where Capricorn was in my chart, that's what I would do. I would be like, okay, well, let's check out my second house. Now, my second house is busy. And for a lot of people around my age, Capricorn, wherever it is in your chart, is going to be busy. Because for a few people that are a little bit older than me, they're going to have Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And for the people around my age, you're going to have Uranus, Neptune, and your North Node, or just Uranus and Neptune. But there's going to be a lot of Capricorn energy going on. So that's why a lot of us in our upper 20s and lower 30s are feeling this full moon really hard. Now, it doesn't exclude you just because you're not in that generation. I'm just saying that we personally are also feeling it really hard. So here's how you're going to do it. You're going to go to where Capricorn is. And let's say you're like me and you were born around 92, 91, 90, and you have not Saturn, I'm sorry. You have Uranus there and you have Neptune there, and then if you're near me, you have your North Node. So let's look at the fact that Uranus is there. Uranus, the planet, rules the country of Aquarius. Or rules being an Aquarius. And Aquarius is from the country of the 11th house. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like if Aquarius was France, the 11th, if Aquarius was being French, I'm so sorry, the 11th house would be France. Does that make sense? Okay, so the houses are the countries, the signs are being from that country, and the planets are the kings and queens of those countries. So you're going to look at Capricorn, and then you're going to look at the king of Capricorn, which is Saturn. And for me, Saturn is in my third house being affected by Aquarius. And you have to think of like if a king were visiting a foreign country, he would probably affect the policies there. Um, Even just by hanging out and talking to the fellow peoples, it is an intermingling of cultures, right? Or of backgrounds, or of heritages, or of energies. There's a mix. It's like mixing red and blue and making purple. So it's no longer just Saturn as if he was in his home country. He is now Saturn who has visited the country of Aquarius and has all these new ideas. But he's still coming from it as Saturn, which is like the god of like dedication and time management and what are you doing with your life? And karma and things like that. He also rules a lot of things with your purpose. So but he's gonna be thinking all of those things and being all those things, but in a different country, in a different area, in a different place, around different kinds of people. You can think of it as you're visiting Little Italy, but you're still in New York, right? So they all intermingle with each other. That's what I'm trying to say. So for me, with the Capricorn second house, I'm going to look at all the planets that are in all, not even just planets, they're called luminaries because not everything's a planet. You also have your moon, you have your asteroids, you have your nodes. Does that make sense? So they call them luminaries, the lights in the sky, the places in the sky. So I have the planet Uranus, so the king of Aquarius, and I have the planet Neptune, the king of Pisces, hanging out around the Capricorn energy in the house that actually belongs to Taurus. So I have Taurus energy, Capricorn energy, Pisces energy, and Aquarius energy all in the same house. And I'm not even going to bother going into aspects yet because that's really complicated. So this is mainly for those of you who have been looking at astrology, but wanting a little bit more depth beyond just looking at one specific spot in your chart at a time. I like to think of it as if you see somebody at the grocery store and they're a total jerk to the cashier and you're like, what the fuck, why is this guy being such a dick? And then you find out that his father died earlier that morning and that's why he's being a dick. So that's the same energy of only looking at one spot in your house, is you're not getting the whole story. So let's say it's affecting your sixth house of health and body and work environment. So if your moon is, or like the moon being in Capricorn is there, it's going to affect your emotional self in your work environment. So maybe you do cry at work, but why? So you're going to look at Saturn, and let's say Saturn is in Aquarius for you, like I was saying. So if your Capricorn is 6th house, Aquarius is right next to it in your 7th house, you find out that it's because your husband is divorcing you. So, I'm sorry, this is such a dark example. Scorpio rising here, can't help myself. But, so you have the, you look at Saturn and it's like, oh my God, Saturn, who rules commitment in my 7th house of partnerships, is fucking up my marriage. And in my 6th house, where the moon is affecting me emotionally, it is making me emotional at work, or maybe it's something to do with your body, like you have a lot of anxiety come up, or you get a cold, or you develop a zit from stress. Does that make sense? Like, is this making sense? If not, please ask me questions down below in the comments. And if you want this but one-on-one, book a session. If you want me to read it for you and kind of give you what I see, you're going to do the Meet Your Magic. And if you want me to be more teaching you how to look at it yourself, like a one-on-one teaching thing, do the Ask the Oracle. But I hope this is making sense. So like I said, let's continue with this 6th and 7th house energy. So you're getting a divorce that's making you emotional while you're at work. What else you could look at is your moon sign, because it is a full moon. So it's going to affect everyone's moon signs because moon affects the moon, right? So let's say your moon is in Aquarius, like mine. And maybe you've always emotionally been detached, so you don't really know how to deal with the fact that you're crying at work and it feels really awkward. Like, you're like, oh God. I just realized if your moon was in Aquarius in this scenario, it would also be in your 7th house. So maybe your mom's involved, because the moon tends to represent your relationship with mother energy. It doesn't have to be your literal mom. Maybe your dad was a stay-at-home dad, and so he feels like a mom, and so actually it's your dad being involved. Or maybe there is a teacher that you've always thought of as a mom. Or maybe you were trying to become a mom. Does that make sense? Like, mom energy. It can be different for everyone. There's 7 billion people in this world. That's why it's always different. And like, the thing is, the more you know about this, that's why I have the teaching version rather than just me helping you. But sometimes that's what you need, maybe you know too many things. You're like, I don't need another freaking skill. But I do feel like we all need to learn how to do this ourselves too, because it just opens up so much understanding to our personal development, what's going on in our life, and how to better ourselves. And like with this full moon coming up, maybe you didn't even know that your husband wanted a divorce, but if you saw that all this shit was going down in your 7th house and you guys have been having conflicts, you would at least maybe open up communication about it, right? Now, as I will tag her below because she's freaking awesome, but as Casey Dene was saying earlier, just because you know astrology and you can predict what's going to happen doesn't mean it's not going to affect you. It is kind of like seeing a tidal wave coming, but you're already in the ocean. You're like, hey guys, there's a tidal wave, and everyone else is like, oh shit, how did I not see that? And you're like, I don't know, but if you had known your astrology, you would have known there was a tidal wave coming. But yeah, it's all gonna hit us, and I can't get out of the way fast enough. So, does that make sense? So it's more to prepare you. So like, maybe if it's a tidal wave, like let's dumb it down. Let's make it like a big wave. We're surviving this. You dive underneath the wave, right? Instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna run away and try to outrun it. You can't you can't outrun the ocean. Trust me, I've tried. I've lived by the beach my whole life. Don't do it. Dive under the wave. It's safer. Anyway, I hope this is all making sense. But you have to look at the whole. You cannot just look at one space, because then you're gonna be like, they all told me it was gonna affect Capricorn, but all of a sudden I'm noticing all of my Libra energy is lighting up. And it's like, well, is your Saturn in Libra? Is your Libra your 10th house, which Capricorn originally rules? Is your moon in Libra and this is a full moon? Does that make sense? So it's like, you actually will gain more thorough understanding that way. But anyway, so if you have any questions, please leave them down below, or book a session with me like I was saying. I hope this made sense, and I hope to make more of these astrology videos in the future. So if you like this, please like the post, share. Hopefully this helps people that you know learn a little bit more about astrology. And if you have any tips and tricks about how you like to look at it metaphorically, I love talking astrology. So again, please comment down below, and have a wonderful full moon eclipse weekend. It is also a holiday, but please be safe, because the energies be weird, okay? Sending lots of love and magic.